Kuala Lumpur is one of the most underrated and most livable cities in the world for nomad capitalists, in my opinion. Langkawi, the duty-free island, is a great place to relax. Penang has great street food, and the whole country of Malaysia has a lot of opportunities and is very tax-friendly. So you only might imagine, how do I get a visa to live in Malaysia? There are 3 ways that you can go about doing this. I'm going to talk about those 3 ways in this video. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and I've spent parts of the last 6 years being in and out of Malaysia. It's one of the best countries for nomad capitalists to consider, in my opinion. And the first way that you can come and check it out or live here part-time is very simple, through a tourist visa. A lot of Western countries, in fact, pretty much all of the Western countries, get 90 days visa-free. So whether you're US, Canada, EU, Australia, you just show up, here's your 90 days. After those 90 days, you can leave for a while, you can come back. You can't do that forever, but if you wanted to follow my strategy of having multiple home bases as a nomad, you could easily come here for 3 months or 4 months a year, spend some time, just be in a tourist visa, and then go to your other bases. But what if you want to live here more permanently? What if you don't want the visa runs? What if you don't want to be pressed to leave every 90 days? You just want a more permanent base. I know a lot of 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs are increasingly telling me they like the productivity of staying in one place. So the first option that people ask me about is getting a work permit. Can I start a company and get a work permit? And the answer is yes. Not necessarily in Malaysia in particular, but in the tax haven of Labuan that is on the Borneo part of Malaysia. This is a place where you can go and pay very, very nominal amounts of tax. It's a company jurisdiction that competes with Hong Kong and other offshore jurisdictions, but the added bonus that it's part of Malaysia. It's part of a real country that has tax treaties and things like that. Now, I don't think that Labuan is necessarily the best jurisdiction for setting up your offshore company, except in certain situations, just because it's not known as well around the world. So if you want to get a work permit through your Labuan company, here's how it works. There are some new terms and conditions. The first thing is your company needs to have at least $250,000 ringgit injected into it. It's about 60,000 US dollars right now. So that needs to be paid up capital, put into the company, bank statements to prove it. That's number one. You need to have some cash. The second thing is your company needs to be turning over at least 10,000 ringgit a month. And again, you need to be able to prove that. So you have to have some activity. This isn't a paper company like some countries where you just go and set up and just show some paperwork and you move on. You actually need revenue. The other thing is you need to have an office, not just the company director's office, not the company secretary, but you need to have your own registered office in Labuan. So that has to be separate from the people who helped you incorporate it. You also need a personal address in Labuan, or there are certain conditions by which you can have an address and live in KL or somewhere else on peninsular Malaysia. So if you're looking to run a real business, you plan on having some turnover, you're willing to pay a nominal amount of tax, you're willing to go through the hoops, and you're open to banking in Malaysia, Singapore, wherever you can get an account for that, not a bad way to go. But perhaps the more interesting way for me is what's basically a retirement visa, but open to anyone of any age, and that's the Malaysian My Second Home program, MM2H. Now, occasionally there are rumors that this program is going to go away. There was one that came out a couple months ago from my friend Christian at IMI Daily. We had gotten in touch with them, and no, that's not the case. What's long been rumored, and what I think is long overdue, is that they're actually going to increase the cost of the program, but here's how it works right now. If you are under 50 years old, you can put 300,000 Malaysian ringgit, about 70,000 US dollars, in a Malaysian bank in ringgit. So you've got to change it into ringgit. That's why they want you here. You're going to incur some small fees, but there are plenty of private banks from Maybank, OCBC, etc., where you can get your own banker and they'll give you a priority relationship for that amount. Once that amount's in the bank and once you've filed some relatively straightforward forms, gotten a medical checkup, proven that you have 10,000 ringgit in monthly income, all that stuff's part of the approval process. Once you have that, you simply come, you get a medical insurance policy, you show them where you're going to be living, whether that's a leased apartment, whether that's a home that you're renting, whether that's an apartment that you own, whatever the case may be. So basically, there are some nominal costs, security bonds, processing fees, stuff like that, but nothing outrageous. You put the money in the bank, you prove you have the income, And then after a year, if you want to take half that money out, you can petition them to do so on the basis of having bought a house, starting at $1 million ringgit, on the basis of medical care that you need, or on the basis of sending your kids to school. So long-term, 150,000 ringgit in the bank, and you've got a 10-year pass to stay here as a social pass, basically an extended tourist visa, big sticker visa in your passport. Very cool thing to have. And you can easily add your wife, you can add your kids. It's very straightforward. So it's a pretty cool thing to have. If you're over 50, that initial requirement's basically going to be dropped by half, 150,000 ringgit that you need to show. So those are the three main options to live in Malaysia, whether you're just trying to dip your toe in or live as a nomad, or whether you want to have a longer term relationship here. The real thing that I like about Malaysia is the fact that they've committed to, by I believe 2030, to be total developed first world country. I think it already equals the standards of development here in the capital that you'd find in many other Western countries, quite frankly. They're going to get up to a standard that is similar to some of the EU countries, and to be part of that and to have that permission and the ability to live here, whether it's on a work permit on a shorter term basis or 10 years on an MM2H basis, I think is worth the relatively nominal investment you have to make.
I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you're looking for a way to legally reduce your taxes, build your freedom, and create wealth faster as a global citizen, then you've come to the right place. I want you to do three things right now. Number one, click the button to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to get notifications so you never miss a new video. Number two, get a copy of our #1 best-selling book, Nomad Capitalist, on Amazon, and learn all the dozens of benefits of our lifestyle. And number three, if you're already a 6 or 7-figure entrepreneur and you want to put these strategies in place, go to nomadcapitalist.com and find out how to get some help.